You know, it's a strange thing. We've got all these notifications, endless feeds, and literally more ways to connect with each other than at any point in human history. And yet, there's this feeling, isn't there? A sense of being disconnected. Today, we're diving deep into that paradox. How can we be so hyper-connected and at the same time feel so deeply alone?
This quote from Forbes just hits the nail on the head. We are surrounded by apps and tools that promise to make connection easier, faster, more efficient. They can automate our engagement, boost our follower counts, and create this huge illusion of a social network. But it really makes you stop and ask, are we actually building real relationships, or are we just managing a database of contacts?
And that's the billion-dollar question, isn't it? We can have a conversation with someone on the other side of the planet in an instant. But a truly deep, meaningful connection, that feels harder to find than ever before. We're absolutely getting the quantity of interaction, but are we completely sacrificing the quality along the way?
And look, this isn't just a hunch or a feeling we all have. The research is really starting to back this up. These findings from the NIH are pretty sobering. We're seeing significant links between heavy social media use and things like depressive symptoms, anxiety, even just not getting enough sleep. The point here is that our digital habits have real, measurable impacts on our well-being, and it all comes down to how we're communicating in these online spaces.
So let's get into the why. Why does this keep happening? In this first section, we're going to pull back the curtain on how our digital world so often creates just an illusion of connection and show you exactly where it all starts to fall apart.
This quote from Kenneth Cloak, an expert in dispute resolution, is so spot on. Think about it. Online, we don't just show up as ourselves, we curate ourselves. We build a persona, right? A mask that shows the world only the highlights we want them to see. And the problem is, when everyone is wearing a mask, it becomes almost impossible to truly see, let alone understand, the real person hiding underneath. And that leads directly to this problem of shallow friendships. We feel connected because we're liking, commenting, and DMing on the time. But what we're missing is the deep context of real-world experience. You know, the shared history, the nonverbal cues, the messy, unguarded moments. Without that bedrock, building the kind of trust that real friendship needs is, well, it's next to impossible.
So when that trust isn't there, our conversations can go south, and they can go south fast. Just look at this list of communication blockers. How many of these have you seen online, maybe even just this week? Things like blaming, accusing, assuming. They're conversation enders. They're not attempts to understand. They're attacks. And they just force the other person to get defensive, digging that trench of misunderstanding even deeper. Okay, so if our communication is broken, how do we start to fix it? Well, that brings us to our solution. We're going to talk about building what we call the empathy engine. This is the powerful counterforce to all that digital disconnection.
First things first, we need to totally reframe what empathy even is. It's not some soft, fluffy, nice-to-have skill. Empathy is a hardwired survival mechanism. I mean, think about it. Early humans who could understand each other, who could sense fear or hunger or intent, they were the ones who could cooperate, build trust, and survive as a group. Empathy is what allowed us to thrive. It is an absolute powerhouse of a skill.
And this slide breaks down perfectly why we need a human empathy engine, not some technological empathy machine. Sure, tech like VR can try to simulate walking in someone else's shoes, but it's just that, a simulation. It can feel, as some researchers put it, reassuringly unreal, and it risks becoming a kind of emotional tourism. A true human empathy engine isn't about simulating an experience. It's about engaging with the real world, observing, listening, and actually feeling the pulse of another person's reality.
All right, so this empathy engine thing sounds pretty great, right? But how do we, actually build one? In this section, we're getting into the nuts and bolts, the practical tools you can start using right away.
The first tool is what we call active perspective taking. It's a simple three-step cycle. First, you ideate. Just brainstorm a bunch of different reasons why someone might be acting the way they are. Step 2, you hypothesize. Okay, what's my best guess here? And then step 3, and this is the most important part, you observe and adjust. You actually engage, you listen with genuine curiosity, and you have to be ready to be totally wrong. It's a constant process of learning. So let's make this real. Imagine a coworker who is always late to meetings. Your first instinct might be to hit them with something like this, an accusation, a judgment. It immediately puts them on the defensive. Now let's try a different approach. Instead, try using an I message. I feel frustrated when you come to staff meetings late because it affects the efficiency of the meeting. See that shift? It's huge. You're not accusing them of being a bad person. You're taking ownership of your feelings and explaining the concrete impact of their behavior. That one little change can turn a confrontation into a conversation.
And this is all part of what we call mindful communication. This isn't just about waiting for your turn to talk. It's about being fully present. It's about listening to actually understand the other person, not just to reload for your next argument. And, this one's key, it's about knowing your own emotional triggers so you can hit the pause button, take a breath, and choose your response instead of just reacting.
Okay, so we have the tools. We know what to do. How do we bring it all together? This last section is all about turning these skills into habits and making authenticity our new default setting.
As Forbes put it so well, it's really about a fundamental shift in our mindset. We have to move away from passive networking, just collecting followers and automating likes, and move towards active relationship building. This is where we decide that the quality and sincerity of our interactions are way, way more important than the sheer number of them. And we can do that by grounding ourselves in these 3 core principles. First, respect, genuinely valuing that other people see the world differently than you do. Second, transparency, just being open and clear. And third, intention, going into a conversation not to win, but with the shared goal of understanding and growth.
I think this quote just wraps it all up so perfectly. Technology can build a lot of bridges for us, and man can it build them fast. But so often, those bridges are flimsy. It's the genuine, authentic relationships, the ones we build carefully with empathy, respect, and intention. Those are the only ones that are truly built to last.
So I'll leave you with this final thought. Empathy isn't some kind of magic or superpower that only some people have. It's really just about finding the echoes of another person's experience inside of yourself. It's about recognizing that shared spark of humanity. So the real question is, whose echoes are you going to make an effort to listen for today? Thanks for joining me.